In 1187, Jerusalem fell. Not by siege towers or trickery, but by the sheer will of a man who had united Egypt and Syria, Saladin. When word reached the west, it struck harder than any sword. This was not just the loss of a city, it was the loss of a holy symbol. And so, the Third Crusade began. Frederick Barbarossa, Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, answered the call. A warrior in his 60s, he had united German lands through diplomacy and war. His presence gave the crusade gravity. Philip II of France followed. Cold, strategic, deeply political, he joined out of duty and to counter his greatest rival, the King of England. Richard VI of England, the Lionheart. Bold, brilliant, and revered. He had rebelled against his father, ruled Aquitaine with fire, and was worshipped by soldiers. A true Night King. To fund the crusade, Richard taxed nobles and emptied coffers. He even joked about selling London if it meant raising money. He wasn't a politician, he was a sword. Frederick marched overland, but drowned crossing a river in Anatolia. Philip and Richard sailed, meeting in Sicily. Tensions flared, allies in name only. While they traveled, Saladin ruled. Since taking Jerusalem, he restored mosques, reopened the Dome of the Rock, and invited scholars to teach. He repaired roads, reformed taxes, and secured markets. He ruled not as a tyrant, but as a steward. A sultan who prayed before battle and forgave after victory. The city of Acre had been under siege nearly 2 years. Disease, heat, and starvation plagued both sides. Richard arrived with siege towers, warships, and steel resolve. Even sick, he led from the front. Within weeks, Acre surrendered, but negotiations failed. When Saladin delayed ransom payments, Richard executed over 2,000 prisoners, women, children, and soldiers. A brutal message. Saladin, enraged, struck back, but Richard pressed on. September 1191, Arsuf. Saladin harassed the Crusaders with hit-and-run attacks. Richard held his lines. When the Hospitallers broke formation, Richard unleashed a counterattack. The Crusaders surged. Knights tore through Saladin's lines. Richard fought at the front, his sword flashing under the sun. After hours of bloodshed, Saladin withdrew, his first major defeat since Jerusalem. Richard's knights included legends: James of Avesnes, the Marshall brothers, Hubert Walter, men who believed they fought for divine justice. With Arsuf won, Richard took Jaffa, rebuilt its defenses, and reclaimed the coast. Twice, he marched near Jerusalem. Twice, he turned back, unable to hold it. Rains came. Supplies ran low. His men were exhausted. Diplomacy replaced war. In 1192, Saladin and Richard agreed to a truce. Pilgrims could visit Jerusalem. Muslims kept the city. Crusaders held the coast. Richard returned to England, his throne in danger. Saladin returned to Damascus, respected but tired. Months later, he died. His legacy: a sword, a prayer mat, and a name. Richard never reached Jerusalem. But in history, in honor, in legend, he met Saladin on the battlefield. Jerusalem remained beyond reach. Two great men, Richard and Saladin, had fought with sword and strategy, faith and fire, and yet neither had conquered the other.